Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. This is the webinar on Ngi Ledger. It's the fourth and final webinar of the series. And just to let you know, Ngi Ledger is the human-centric venture builder program that is funded by the European Commission under Horizon 2020. We've already done 3 other webinars before this, and we will make sure that the links are made available to you so you can see the entire series. It could be interesting because last week we discussed with 2 teams, one that's currently involved in the second round that's ongoing, and another one that was in the first round. And they gave their perspective of what the program is like, and they gave a few pointers. So if you find that interesting, you can find that on the NGI YouTube channel. Just to let you know, this webinar is recorded and will be posted on the same NGI YouTube channel for a maximum of 5 years. And I will take this opportunity to let you know that you are free to leave whenever you like. So let's roll. On the right of your screen, you see a control panel. It's also what you see on your screen as well. On this is where you can control the audio settings. We can activate your microphones. What's more important is that there's a chat box, and here you can enter any questions that you want to address directly to us, because at the end of the session, like in the other webinars, there will be a Q&A session. So I invite you all to ask your questions and to really gear your curiosity, because this is the final time you have to engage with us, at least for questions directly. Other than that, there is an email address. So for the final time, it is my pleasure to introduce the speakers that you perhaps know already. We have Thomas Wilczek from Funding Box.
Hello, everyone. Hi, thanks for being here. Thanks for having me.
We're happy to have you. We have Andrea Dintino from Dine.org.
Good morning, everybody. Andrea here. Nice to have all of you here.
Great. And we have myself, Thomas Chamyarila from Morpho. We're gonna give you a quick round of who we are and what our role is in Ledger. So Thomas, would you like to start with Funding Box?
Yes, sure. Yeah, thanks again for being here. This is, of course, the last webinar. We're here to support you with your applications, and of course to invite you if you haven't started any applications yet. So most of this is going to be most of this webinar is going to be dedicated to you and to your questions. But yeah, to start, Funding Box. Who is Funding Box? Well, we are the coordinator of Ledger. We have the coordinator role, and we are supported by our consortium partners, Blue Morpho and Dine, in business and technical capacities. And Funding Box, who's Funding Box? Well, we are a European non-profit organization with a team of 80 professionals, and we operate out of 4 hubs in Europe, which is in Poland, Denmark, Spain, and the Czech Republic. And what we do is, well, we have a twofold offering. On the one hand, we are one of the largest European deep tech ecosystems now, which is based on our platform, on our funding platform for entrepreneurs, of over 30,000 members. And on that platform and in that ecosystem, any entrepreneur, startup, or SME can find funding opportunities, know-how, tech connections, communicate with their peers, well, everything you need on your journey to get funded and to succeed. And the platform itself hosts a large amount of dedicated online communities around different deep tech topics like IoT, digital innovation, robotics, artificial intelligence, and blockchain. Ledger, for example, also has a community there. And if you haven't done so, I invite you to join us. on the community. We will post later the links in the chat, so you can join directly. And a part of that ecosystem, Ledger also participates in many Horizon 2020 projects. As you know, we are experts in cascade funding, FSTP management, open call management with the platform tool that you will be applying on, etc. And on the other hand, Fundingbox has a second offering towards investors and corporates. We help them with scouting, screening, and matchmaking services to find and to integrate and identify innovative startups. Yeah, that is Fundingbox. Back to you, Thomas.
Thank you. Indeed, that is Fundingbox. Any questions regarding payments and legal questions are usually direct, and administration are usually directed to Fundingbox.
Yeah.
The name speaks for itself regarding payments.
Yes, it does.
Next, we have Dyn.org.
Hi, everybody. Dyn is a non-profit foundation based in Amsterdam, well, headquartered in Amsterdam, because we are about 15 people and we live in several different countries in Europe. We focus on developing open source software in the fields of blockchain and cryptography. Well, actually, cryptography and blockchain. We are technical mentors in this project, meaning that we will work hand in hand with you to make sure that you develop the best product possible in the fastest way possible.
Okay, fantastic. What we like to call them, because technical mentor is true, but we like to call them as researchers in residence, because they do much more than just technical mentoring. So yeah. Be ready for some exciting times with Dyn.org. And last but not least, we have Morpho. Morpho, as you can see from our logo, is a butterfly. But really, at Morpho, we deliver disruption in products and business models going from ideation to additional revenue streams. As deep tech experts, we act as a corporate third-party partner, activating open innovation ecosystems to deliver value. Through ecosystem designing, we work with large corporations, private investors, research organizations, startups, SMEs, and institutions to achieve disruptive innovation. In Ledger, Morpho will provide business mentoring, and we bring our network plus our experience conducting specific actions across 24 verticals to your advantage. As you can see on the screen, we have a network of more than 70,000 contacts of all sizes, and again, across 24 verticals, and naturally across different deep technologies and new technologies such as blockchain, AI, and furthermore. Within Ledger as well, we don't consider ourselves as a guru, if that makes sense. So we don't expect ourselves to know everything, but we leverage our network, our expertise to your benefit. And that is part of the guidance and the advice that we give you throughout the process in Ledger. One thing that I didn't mention is that we are based in France and we're also based in Germany. And our role, as I said, for business mentoring, but we also look at questions such as fundraising, because access to funding is very important once Ledger is over, and of course the sustainability of your projects once Ledger is over. So that is it for the 3 consortium partners. Let's now go into the rest of the webinar. Thomas, could you tell us what is Ngi Ledger?
Sure, yeah. Ngi Ledger officially is an EU-funded project that supports human-centric research and innovation projects to develop minimal viable products and services, so MVPs, which aim to create new models that preserve citizens' control over their data. What that means is we are looking for models where data is a common good that is owned by citizens. Models where any wealth, sorry, where any wealth that is created by services or by platforms with our data, with the citizens' data, is then equally distributed and does not enrich only a few big tech giants, as it happens currently. So we are looking to support projects that have core values like privacy by design, decentralized data governance, trustworthiness, resilience, and openness. So the core idea is that we're trying to build a new internet of sorts where citizens, where the human being is at the center. In fact, Ledger is part of the European Commission's NGI initiative, NGI for Next Generation Internet. Again, like I said before with the community, if you haven't done so, please check the NGI website. We will post the link in the chat in a moment, and have a good look around. There's lots of very interesting information and related projects, and this will help you, or I would even dare to say this is basic information for you to have a rounded or give a rounded application to the Ledger project. You need to know about NGI and about what the main values are here. So to summarize, our goal is to ensure data sovereignty and to eliminate concentration of data. And we do that by leveraging on decentralized technologies such as blockchain, distributed ledger technology, DLT, peer-to-peer, AI, and more. It will really depend on the project that applies. Yeah, that is Ledger. We will come to the open call definition in a moment.
And what better time to be a part of a project like this, especially with the European Commission publishing the Digital Markets Act and the Digital Services Act, which already is in your favor as innovators that are looking to push forward this next generation internet for a better world. One thing that we didn't mention is that in terms of funding, you stand to gain up to 150,000 euros, equity free, I might add. 9 projects will be funded in this third open call, and the date to keep in mind is the 22nd of February 2021, because that's when the call ends. So we will reiterate this date regularly during this webinar. What you can see here is basically the 6-month venture builder program, starting from the first month, the welcome, and the various milestones and events that will be taking place over the 6 months. Thomas or Andrea, do you have any comments to make about this?
Yeah, just very quickly, there are 3 stages, as you can see. If you know Ledger, you see the main difference to the previous 2 rounds is the length. So we have condensed the project, let's say, into 6 months now, and we have only 3 stages and 4 main deliverables that you can see here. All this runs under the modality of cascade funding, which I explained before. Funding Box is an expert in cascade funding. Meaning that you, at the beginning of the project, you lay out your action plan, your goals, your KPIs that you're measured by, and you get certain deliverables that you have to hit and that you have to hand in. And if you hand them in correctly and they are scored correctly, you will then be provided with the installment until up to 150,000 euros, as mentioned. After the 6 months, also in previous years, there was a business ignition phase at the very end, which lasted 3 months. Now this business ignition or this business support will be given throughout the entire 6 months in a way, so it's more integrated. And in that way, at the very end of the project, we will identify the top performers, up to 4 top performers, in order to provide them with a top performer incentive, a prize of 25,000 euros. So just to give you a little bit more of an incentive to even be more engaged throughout the program and trying to hit your targets and trying to collaborate and support also the other projects within the program. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Who wouldn't like 25,000 euros extra for good work done?
Yeah.
Just about the business ignition stage, which was part of the 2 previous rounds, and that's now integrated within the 6-month program. It is also the reason why there's the new requirement that companies that apply need to have been established for a minimum of 8 months, which corresponds to the 22nd of June 2020. Now, you may have heard that Ledger is the human-centric venture builder, and this value of human-centric is very important to the goals of the project. Andrea, would you like to tell us more about human-centric and what the teams can expect from working with you and the rest of us?
Yeah, I can say a few words. Maybe I can read what's written here, but that would be boring. Human-centric means technology built about people as an opposite to corporations, as an opposite to other entities. So we focus on software that can improve the social, that can give a better life quality to the users and to people around them. It's a very generic concept. It's very hard to shrink it in a few words, but it's something for the good of the people.
Yeah, I would definitely advise people to go to the NGI page, as I said before, have a good read of everything on there, especially the values, and that will definitely inform also this concept of human centricity.
And definitely throughout the project, you will see that we push you to be human-centric, to be customer-centric, to really think about the people whom your solutions are serving, because really that's the core of what this is, human-centric. In case it's still not clear, but I think the definition that was given before is really, really clear. It has been codified in the Council of Europe's Convention, and it's written on the screen that the interests and welfare of the human being shall prevail over the sole interest of society or science. No need to spend much more time on this. There is a link on the page that you can go on, that you can follow. Let's move on. Regarding the verticals that we're looking for within Ngi Ledger. So here are the 5 main verticals. We're looking at health. So as you can imagine, the world's been shaken up by a pandemic, COVID-19, and health is definitely something that we're looking for. And solutions for COVID-19 are something that we're looking for. Not limited to, just since it's topical right now. Economy. The economy has been shaken as well, and things are likely to change. Perhaps you may have solutions to that are more economic related that you're willing to propose. Fair enough. Mobility. Unfortunately, in the 2 previous rounds, we haven't managed to have a team in mobility. That's not something that we could control, of course, but we would be interested to have a team in mobility. This isn't me saying that mobility will get extra points in the selection, but just as a consortium, we would like to see this diversity of having a team in mobility within the project. Public services. So you can think of anything related to e-governance, to institutions, to schools as well. This is something that's very important within the European Commission's goals and objectives. And then naturally, energy and sustainability, which has been an ongoing topic for quite some time now. We all know that we're moving towards a greener future, at least that's the objective. We know about the green transformation and the Green Deal of the European Commission. So energy and sustainability is another main business vertical that we're looking at. Now that I've mentioned these 5 verticals, there is a 6th vertical that's called open innovation, which is a way of saying everything else. Because we understand that you're working on solutions that have a benefit for the greater society and that do use decentralized technologies, we are open to your ideas and to your suggestions. And the open innovation category is considered equally to the other verticals as well. So there's no specific preference for vertical, and open innovation is not necessarily a less considered vertical either. They're all considered equally, and your projects, your applications will be evaluated equally as well. That is it for verticals. Thomas, could you tell us a bit more about the application process?
Yes. As we can see here in a simplified way, we are going to reduce the numbers according to the different stages. So firstly, as you hopefully are doing, if not, I would like to invite you to start an application on the platform, on the Fundingbox tool, open call tool, where you hand in the application, fill in the application form which is there provided for you, responding different questions and telling us about your project, providing data, etc., which will then automatically test your eligibility, and the projects that have passed then will go to, I will not go further into detail, I will go into an independent experts evaluation phase, where they will be looked at and evaluated and assessed in depth, and the outcome of that will be then the selection of the finalists for the jury day, who will be contacted in the jury day, or shortly before the jury day. We will ask you to provide us with a video pitch of 3 minutes approximately, which will then be assessed by the jury members. And we will invite you to the jury day, which will consist pretty much in a Q&A, individual Q&A session with the jury, where the jury will be able to, pose questions to you, get clarifications on your application and the video pitch that they have assessed previously. And they will then take the decision in a consensus meeting, compare their scores, and discuss the selection, and will then invite up to 9 projects to join this 3rd round. Thomas, back to you.
Thank you, Thomas. Back to me. Reminder that the open call is ongoing. It started on the 22nd of December last year, which isn't so important because it's open right now. But what is important is that the open call ends on the 22nd of February. That is in 11 days. So start your applications. You can start your application and you can save it. You can come back to it and work on it over the next 11 days, so long as you submit it before 6 p.m. on the 22nd of February, Central European time.
Yeah, may I add quickly something I've forgotten? that of course you have different help desk channels. I guess Thomas, you will be saying that afterwards, but just in case, if you have any further questions after today, after this webinar, there's an email for you. You have the community, and on the open call page itself, where you do your application, there are two crucial documents and that you should study in depth, which is the guide for applicants, where also this application process is described in detail, so you know exactly what happens with your application. It would just, we don't have enough time today to go in detail. We also want to get your questions now. So please read the guide for applicants, and there is also a frequently asked question document where you can find a lot of information. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving next, who can apply? I will read this for you, and then obviously Andrea and Thomas, you can add to what I say. So who can apply? Teams that are composed of a legal entity registered for at least 8 months, meaning before the 20th, it has to have been registered before the 22nd of June 2020. And these teams must comprise the following 3 profiles at least: a researcher, a developer, and a business profile that we've called business developer or entrepreneur. Okay, these are the 3 core profiles that are required to be in your team. The legal entity must be established in an EU member state or in any one of the associated countries that you will see in the following slide. And then something else is that we strongly encourage gender balanced teams to apply.
Yeah, nothing to add here. That's good.
Great.
Yeah, I can go through that just very quickly. So who can apply? A part of what Thomas just said about the entities and the team composition. Of course, there's also a technical part. Projects have to be based on research components, technical or socioeconomic, relevant to the topics of privacy by design and distributed data governance. And they have to consist of the development, test, and validation of technical and economic viability of an MVP or service. So also in difference to last year, the entry level is a little bit higher. It's around TRL 6.7 ideally, and what you have to present or work on is an existing or an impactful software product or prototype. And again, all this should be aligned with the NGI vision, as I said before, and the results of the bottom-up projects should be compliant with the open licenses, so open source. I'm sure Andrea later can, there will be some question, and then we will get more information on that. Thank you.
This is the Q&A webinar, so yes, we will have a question for, for talk about what we mean by open source. Just a reminder, associated countries to Horizon 2020 are the ones that you see on your screen. I'm not sure if you'd like me to read them out. Actually, let me do it. That way we can say that they've been read out. We have Albania, Armenia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Faroe Islands, Georgia, Iceland, Israel, Moldova, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Norway, Serbia, Switzerland, Tunisia, Turkey, Ukraine. And for all those that are wondering, the United Kingdom is also eligible.
Yes.
So I'll leave the screen for another 3 seconds just so that you can see if you count in any of these countries, in case you're wondering. And that way we can move on to the next slide. The commonly asked questions. Hey, this is what we've been waiting for. how this will work is we'll address the commonly asked questions, and then if you still have any more questions, you can use the question box on the right of your screen to ask any question that you have that hasn't been addressed during this webinar. So let's go. Question number 1. Can our team apply this time as we were not selected at the first open call or even the second open call, now that there are 2 that have happened? The
Yes.
answer to this, yeah.
Yes, everyone. Yes, they are free to apply. Only teams that have taken part in the open calls are not allowed to apply.
Okay, great. Are there quotas per vertical?
No,
Yeah.
no quotas.
Yeah, is no. There are no quotas per vertical. If it just so happens that all 9 teams are part of the public services vertical, that's because the evaluation has gone that way. But there are no quotas and there are no specific preferences for the verticals. Must the 3 core members be part of the project full time?
We would prefer that to be so. So full-time would be strongly recommended, as you can see here. But of course, in the researcher role, so the academic role, we understand that that kind of profile is hardly a full-time job on a project. So there maybe it would be okay if it's part-time, but we need, it is required, at least for the other 2, so the developer and the entrepreneur or business person, to be full-time on the project. Funds are there for it, so you can do this with the funds that we provide. And yeah, we need, especially on the technical, well, on both sides, on the business side, of course, the leader, and as you have heard, there will be mentoring throughout the whole 6 months. It will be very intense, so we need someone there full time. And on the technical side, we need a CTO, we need a technical leader. Although later you have maybe other people contributing, but we need that profile to be full time as well.
The strength of a team will contribute to the likelihood of your selection. So for the developer, the fact that you have a developer that can develop, of course, a researcher, of course, that is a researcher and that has the experience required to be a researcher, and for the business profile, someone that has experience and that has that is leading the business imperatives of the business. About open, free, and source, I guess that's been phrased incorrectly, but about free and open source software, can you explain what you mean?
Yes. Are you able to post something in the chat, Tanaka? Thomas?
I am. Yeah.
Because I think that the easiest way for the teams to understand what we do is to check the repo that we are that has already been populated with projects. Can I write something in the chat? Let me see.
I can also post it on the screen if you like.
Whatever is easier for the audience to look, to click and look.
Ah, there we go. It's on the screen.
Yeah. So basically, this is the let's say the documentation or the manual. Well, documentation of the repos. If you open any of them, open back me global passport project, because that's the best documented.
And we met them last webinar.
Ah, that's true. So this is the documentation of the project. If you scroll down. If you scroll down to the bottom, yeah, you have the repos a little bit up. So click, for example, on GPP backend. That is the backend of the projects of one of the teams. So all the teams are to upload the code that they write, so in case of the third call, everybody will have a prototype or a product already. So whatever you have written before doesn't have to go on GitHub, although we would love to. But all the code that is written within the scope of the project has to be released on the repo that we made, so on the project that we made on GitHub. It has to be documented, and the license has to be compatible with one of the free software foundation licenses. So Apache, GPL, BSD, MIT, GPL, etc. That's it.
Great. We don't hear you.
Fantastic. That was very visual and clear. And for all those that are developers, I hope it made sense to you. Let's move on to the next set of commonly asked questions. Does the consortium require record keeping of funds? I guess this is a question for Funding Box.
Yeah, I cannot do much more than read out what is already said below. Meeting deadlines is required. No audit of your financial decisions is made by the consortium. So yeah, I cannot add much more to that.
I can just reiterate that meeting deadlines is really important, and it is the key to accessing the funds. As you saw earlier on, they're broken down into various tranches, and without the deadline, then there's no release of funds. Another question is, do we being you, the team, need to announce our team to the consortium? And the answer to this is simple. They are the three profiles that we spoke of before. Those are the three profiles that need to be announced to the consortium via your application form. For the rest, the consortium we consider that we're not involved in your internal organization and decisions. So only the three profiles are the ones that need to be announced.
Any additional information is always helpful to get a better picture about your setup and your project, but yeah, that's the minimum of the requirement.
If we already have an MVP, can we use Ledger to improve it, find new use cases, and test it? The answer to this one is simple. That is acceptable, and with this advanced open call, it's even it's preferable. Do team members have to be EU citizens?
They don't have to be, but the entity has to be established in EU and associated countries. So yeah, I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah. Again, I'll reiterate what Thomas has just said. It really is based on the legal entity established in the countries that we showed before or in the EU. That really is what's important. As for the team members, your nationality is not of concern. What is the format of our jury day pitch? So as you saw earlier on, the application process was explained, and how it'll work for this jury day is that you won't be pitching live, but you will submit a video, which will be 3 minutes long. And as any pitch, it should present your company and convince the jury of your place in the third round of Ledger. If our proposal is accepted into 2 different NGI projects, can we receive funding from both?
No, there can't be double funding. It's not allowed. In the end, you would have to choose one of the 2.
For the question on the application form, if you get selected, how are you planning to spend the resources of the project? What kind of answer should we expect to receive for that question?
That's again for me, I guess. Yeah, we just need a rough outline of the funds. So this is not a detailed breakdown because, of course, you will be working later once you have joined the project. There can be a lot of changes. You will be mentored from the beginning. So there's nothing set in stone. It's just for us to get a broad idea of what your thinking is, what your ability is to plan and to manage funds, and if your project makes sense. In the yeah, that's really the idea behind this. So yeah, we need a rough outline.
Okay. Taxes, because taxes. Do we have to pay value-added tax on the ledger funds we receive? The answer to this is usually public grants are exempt from that, but different countries set different rules for how this is done. So our recommendation is to see with your local tax specialists or local tax authorities, just to be clear on what the implications are regarding VAT on the ledger funds you receive.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So that is the end of the commonly asked questions. Of course, if you do have other questions, we invite you to go to the question box and to ask all the questions that you have for us. Now's the time. I would like to give you a reminder for the deadline for applications, which is the 22nd of February 2021 at 6 p.m. Central European Time. No later. It's an automated process, so it will close automatically, and it's out of our hands once it closes. So again, 22nd of February 2021, 6 p.m. Central European Time. We do have references for you regarding the application process and other questions that are within this guide. It is the guide for applicants, and it is in the link that you see on your screen. Attendees of this webinar and all the webinars will receive an email with the links to the webinars and also the link to this guide for applicants. I believe it's also available on the Ledger website as well. And this will give you some guidance on your application course. And then we invite you to join the Ledger community, because Ledger has existed for 2 rounds and you'll be now part of the 3rd round. So join the community, interact with those that have been part of Ledger before. There's the official Ledger website that you can see on your screen, ledgerproject.eu. There is the actual community for more for general questions and more. The link is on your screen. And then for specific inquiries regarding your application and other questions that you may have beyond this webinar, we invite you to address all your questions to social@ledgerproject.eu. And then, of course, we're active on social media. We have a Twitter account, and the account name is @ledgereu. Simple. And now we give the floor to you and the questions that you have for us. We'll open the question box and I will read them out, and between the partners we will answer your questions. Okay? Let's go. Okay, lots of questions. The first one is links for Ledger's blockchain involvement, please. I'm not sure I understand what that question is, what that question means.
Could you read it out again?
It says links for Ledger's blockchain involvement, please.
Could you be more specific?
Okay. To the person that asked this question, could you rephrase your question so that it's a bit more clear and we'll be able to address it appropriately? All right, the next one is a bit of a long question, so please bear with me. It's very long. Okay. Hi guys, thank you for the webinar and the opportunity. We're a group of people working on a product and service for which we are both developing the technology, whose upgrade towards a distributed privacy by design paradigm is the main reason for our participation in Ledger and testing the product market fit, as well as preparing the marketing launch campaign. Okay. We're set to deploy our first app by the end of March within 3 months as the call required, but we haven't incorporated yet as the name of the venture is linked to the aforementioned steps. We thought about using one of our team's own company as an applicant for the project. Would that be okay? That's the first question.
If it has been incorporated 8 months before the deadline, that should work.
Okay, to answer the first question, then that's done. Second, the plan is to incorporate as soon as possible. Would that be a problem in case we are selected? Could the operativity be pursued by the new dedicated entity? Would we just need to keep you guys duly informed during the process? Thanks a lot for your help. In other words, the question is if they registered with one company and during the process they shifted to a newly incorporated company, would that count?
That is a good question. I don't have the answer to that right now, but I can check it. Please send us an email to info@ledgerproject.eu and we can get into the detail there and respond to you. What I also wanted to add to my previous response is that, of course, that entity will be managing all funds. So we can only have one entity as a contact point, and any other team members, the distribution will have to be handled outside of the project by that entity. We are not responsible for that. We only have that entity as a contact point. I wanted to make that very clear. And of course, please check, because you were talking about individuals. It depends on the country. Even if it's the European Union, it depends on the country. There are different approaches. Different entities are registered or are seen or are established as such. So in some countries, there is a need to incorporate in a different way than in others. So please make sure that you follow. That you make that clear, because your country's entity might not be eligible. That's what I mean. But any more detail, please get in touch with us on the email, and we can look into that.
The email address is at the bottom of your screen, and it's a good idea to send to that email address because it will be directed to the right person that will be able to really give you a detailed answer that you need. Thank you for that. The next question is, will the slides be available? Yes, we will send the slides, the links to the previous webinars, and the guide for applicants in an email next week. Could you expand a little bit more on the open innovation vertical, please? So the open innovation vertical is just another way of saying any other business vertical that's not the 5 that were listed before. So it, as the name suggests, it is really open. One example was, if you refer to last week's webinar, the second company that presented, actually both companies that presented were part of the open innovation vertical. Another question, how many projects go to the jury day?
The number is not fixed. We are aiming at around 20, but it will depend on the different scoring and the decision of the consensus meeting. So that's the selection committee and the consensus meeting which decides. So around 20, but it's not clear. It can be less, it can be more.
Thank you for that. Is UK eventually considered, the next question is UK eventually considered as an associated country? I don't know what the specifics of downside is, but what is important to know is UK-based companies can apply. I think the UK is considered a part of the European Union because at the beginning of the project they signed as part of the European Union, and the project is still ongoing. But the specifics of it, I have to admit, I'm not too aware of. Another question. Hello, regarding the 3 team profiles, researcher, developer, biz dev, do they need to be co-founders, employees, or can those be externals or freelancers? Question 1. Question 2, can a company with only one founder and externals apply? Thank you.
Please, Andrea, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, guys. This is I could speak 20 minutes about this question, but long story short, we need a team that has been working together, where the core of the team is a real team. The reason is that out of both of good logic and out of our experience, the teams that have used outsourcing as a main source of development have disappeared. Some of them didn't even get yet to the end of the project. So we have seen in the first round teams shuffling and reshuffling with development changing, and then they didn't get anything done, and they just didn't deliver, and because of that they didn't get the money. So it's okay if for some specific things you use external help, but it's highly advisable that you have a strong development team that has been working together and that you already know that can deliver. So it's there might be a thin line between it's not black and white, but generally speaking, if you are one business developer that wants to outsource development, that's not going to work. So you need to have a CTO and you need to have one main developer in-house, at least.
Yeah, actually, might I add that if you read the guide for applicants, this is an eligibility criteria, so you cannot outsource the development. You need to have, as Andrea says, at least the CTO, at least the main head of the development in-house. The setups of the company, founder, no founder, contract, that is really not of our concern. But yeah, as Andrea said.
Yeah, to give you a better idea on how the evaluation will work, when you will be pitching, you will be asked what you've done in the past, and what we do very often is we check your GitHub profile. So if you go on and present yourself as an author of whatever software, whatever component that has been open source, been used, but it's been used by X amount of people, then we're going to go and check if the thing exists and what is your track record. So there has to be a person in the team that has demonstrable or provable track of software development. Software or hardware, depending on what you want to do, but there has to be an engineer.
All that to say that the team that applies will be thoroughly scrutinized during the evaluation process and also the jury day process. And as Andrea said very well before, teams that have worked together for some time will be looked at better than teams that seem to have just been assembled randomly and that also don't seem to have been outsourced. It's up to you to decide on who your team members are and to apply and see the outcome of the application.
But our ideal profile is a consolidated team with the products, so we can hit the ground running. Those will be looked at, as Thomas just said, favorably. That doesn't mean that maybe there will be someone who has something else that really convinces the different selection committees. But the ideal candidate is a consolidated team.
Yeah. Another question is, in this third call, are the jury day members the same as the jury day members of the second ledger open call or second ledger open calls jury day? And is it possible to know their names?
We are currently assembling those, the jury and the selection committee, and I would probably say to 85%, 80%, they won't be the same than in the previous rounds. Maybe even 90%. So these are mostly new external experts that are going to be in the different committees and in the jury.
Yeah, thank you for that. Here's a question that's for Andrea. AGPL version 3, does that fit your requirement for open source?
It works. A lot of, if you check our repos, github.com/dyne, D-Y-N-E, you will see that several of our softwares are released AGPL3. AGPL3 is fine.
Fantastic. Regarding the TRL level, would a TRL higher than 7 be relevant for this call?
For me, would a TRL higher than 7?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes.
Well, what we are looking for in this call is teams that have a prototype or a product that want to extend with a cryptography/blockchain/DLT module. So the most mature, the better. If you come in with a solid platform and you want to build a blockchain plugin, that's the best. If you come with a prototype, as long as it works or kind of works, or you have a few people using it, that's acceptable. But the most mature, the better.
Okay, great. Next question is, could we present our project if we won the NGI Atlantic from last year? Perhaps you might need to give us more information on what the NGI Atlantic is. But what I could say is that
I know what it is. It's a sister project of Ledger, being financed by NGI, that puts in collaboration European companies with American teams.
Exactly. You can't be this would have to be checked much more in detail than now here on the call. But if it's the same project and based on the same idea or outcome, you cannot, because you can't be double funding is not allowed, and that would be double funding. It will all depend on the level that that your project is and what the differences are, if there are new elements, enough new elements for this not to be considered double funding. So this would have to be assessed in detail. If you want to, again, if you want to email us, please do so, and we can look into it.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that. Right, another question. No consortiums are eligible to apply. Is that right? Just single entities. What is more important is that the entity that applies has existed for at least 8 months. And so has your consortium existed for more than 8 months? Perhaps, Thomas, you could give more information about that in case.
Yeah, consortia, although not preferable, are allowed to apply, but you have to provide us with the necessary information. And again, as I said before, in a previous question, we will only deal with one legal entity, which will be our contact. Anything else from that would have to be managed by that entity outside of the Ledger project. So we don't take any responsibility. We have just one. We are contracting. We are creating the subgrant agreement with one legal entity.
Okay, great. We have the question. The very first question has been asked again. That before it was explained about blockchain was explained about being part of Ledger somehow, and oh goodness, I'll read it word for word. Yes, sorry. Before Thomas explained about blockchain being part of Ledger somehow, just a little more of information around how Ledger has used blockchain or understands blockchain. So we are financing solutions that use decentralized technologies. Blockchain is one, but then if you have other decentralized technologies, they count as well. About blockchain being part of Ledger, well, Ledger is a project that finances companies, and then the technology is just the technology. I'm not sure if that answers your question. On to the next question. Can newer companies created in December 2020 participate? Your company has to have existed from at least the 22nd of June 2020, which means December is too late.
Yeah.
Another question is about the legal entity. Does it have to be related to the field, tech, and so on, or could it be something else? SME related, for example, to events. Thank you. So about the legal entity, well, it's just a legal entity, isn't it? And technology is just a technology. We're looking for solutions more than anything else, and these solutions are driven and managed by a legal entity.
Yeah. May I add something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you finished? Sorry, maybe I did cut you off. Have I cut you off, Thomas? Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that there could be a solution for the events sector, events management that use blockchain. That's really up to what your proposal is and what you have for us. So, yeah. And then Thomas, you may add.
No, I just wanted to point out that the main reason for this, although there are others, but the main reason is that we need business savvy. As I have explained before, we have condensed this program to 6 months, and we have sort of taken out or had to take out the first part, which often or in the previous rounds was had also to do with teams sort of finding their way business-wise, because they were different individuals, etc., etc. So the whole thinking behind this is to bring in people who are business savvy, who have a company, who have created an entity, and so start at a higher level. Yeah, I just wanted to explain a bit the background around this. It's really the business savviness or the certain experience to ensure that there is a certain experience and having at a company or an organization to manage.
Okay, question to Andrea Dintino. The provable experience of the CTO or main software developer has to be only in the open source space, or proven experiences inside private companies not developing open source products can also apply. Basically,
Guys,
what that, yeah?
Yeah, I can answer. The CTO has to be capable, and if he can show it with open source stuff, it's better. Else, we'll figure it out. But we need someone that we need to have an actor in the team that can lead development.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Again, UK-based companies are eligible. Last time we're saying this. Do we have the approximate dates for jury day, the final selection, and the start of the program?
Yes, I think they are laid out in the guide for applicants and in the frequently asked question. From the top of my head, the program will start the 1st of June. The evaluation will run throughout March. In April, there's not a set date just yet, but I guess in the second half or mid-April, second half of April, there will be the jury day. In May, Funding Box will do the legal check of the applicants and the subgrant agreement, creation and signature, all the onboarding for the different teams. And then on the 1st of June, the program starts. That is the plan.
Okay, fantastic. We have a question about the research profile. Does the team member need to have papers published or presenting a project under the health vertical? A doctor doing his PhD is eligible under this. I'll read it word for word again. Does the research team member needs to have papers published or presenting a project under health vertical, comma, a doctor doing his PhD is eligible under this research requirement? What I can say is that the researcher profile has to have one of two criteria have to be fulfilled. Either they have already been published, just one paper is enough, or they are doing a master's degree that opens to research. I believe it is a master's degree, right?
MA graduated or someone with substantial amount of publications done, yes.
There we go. That's the answer. Back to the question about the consortiums. There's a response. I mean, last year you could include 2 entities in the submission form. So indeed, last year 2 entities you could put them in the submission form, the application, of course. This year, if you do it again, that's fine, but the entities have to have existed for at least 8 months. first of all. And I'm wondering if the joint venture also has to have existed for 8 months. That's something I would recommend you to post a question on the email address social@ledgerproject.eu. And the final question, I think this is for Andrea, related to open source requirements. What if the solution relates to the use of an existing DLT/blockchain solution? What would the team need to release openly? The research and architecture design and the way it'll interact with that distributed ledger.
Everything that is developed with the money. So, okay, what you will do in the application is that you will describe a project very roughly. If you get to win the grant, the first deliverable you will do is a project planning. In this project planning, you will define an architecture, you will define the technologies you will use, you will write a list of features, and you will start drafting what the UX will look like and what the technology will be like. All that you will develop within the Ledger project will have to be open source. Everything that has been done before or outside this this project, that doesn't have to be open source, because there can be, for example, large companies that apply where 3 people will be working on Ledger and 300 people will do something else. It's not that everything that the whole company does has to be released open source, but within the project that you're pitching and within the first deliverable you will have to provide us with, which will contain the project planning, all of that has to be open source.
And then, of course, don't forget that there's the business part to Ledger. So we will discuss exactly how to run your business with parts that are open source. It's something that's considered for the program. That was the final question. And I guess this is the end of the webinar, the final webinar for Is Ngi Ledger forever.
That sounds sad.
It's been 3 years.
All right.
But I've got a smile, I've got a big smile, so
yeah.
I'm not bad.
Yes, please. Anyway, this is the last webinar, but we are here to help you in the community. Of course, the email social@ledgerproject.eu. If you have any further questions before your application, don't hesitate to get in touch. We are here to support you.
Indeed, social@ledgerproject.eu is your main port of call. Start your applications and then update them regularly depending on the information that comes up. And we wish you the best of luck in your applications. We only can have 9 teams, but we do wish the best for all of you. I'd like to thank you all for attending the webinar and for making it. It's been 1 hour and 16 minutes now, so well done for making it this far. And really thank you to my partners, Andrea and Thomas, for your contribution to these webinars and for the work that we've done for the past 2 years and for the 3rd year that's coming up ahead of us with the team that's listening to us today.
Thank you, Thomas. That's great.
See you guys. Good luck, everybody, with your applications.
Good luck. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you at the jury day or in the program.
Good luck. Good luck. Have a good day.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.